Hey guys, Dunkle here, bringing you a Blood Death Knight point of view of a 21 Iron Docks. It's a Tyrannical week with bolstering and explosive. So right off rip, we're going to pull a big pack here, but because of bolstering, we want to cleave off of the highest health, most dangerous mob, which I have marked as blue in this particular pack. So everyone's going to blow all their big cooldowns. We're going to try to kill him first, if not first, maybe second or third, just so that he doesn't get too big from all the bolstering stacks from all the other mobs dying. And as you can see from the side of the party frames, we've committed quite a lot of cooldowns here, both offensively and defensively, just to survive this pack without really anything major happening to us. So the next pack generally would be not too big, but I make a bit of a mistake with my pull, and the next pack gets pretty spicy. So the original goal was to pull this guy over the wall and group everything up normally, but what happens is, as the infiltrator runs by, he pulls the other pack and the mini boss pack, but doesn't pull the mini boss somehow. So at this point, I'm deciding, do we wipe this or do we commit to this? I'm going to pop my swords. As I do that, the mage dies, but I already invested this cooldown. I'm in this. We're going to try to save it and see what happens. We do end up having quite a few deaths here, but Blood Death Knight's healing right now is actually insane. This healer was pumping, he had his cooldowns up. And we do salvage this pull, but we do have a few deaths. Like, we're already up to 2 already. I think we end up with 4 total deaths on this pack. But overall, this was actually ended up being quite a huge time save, because we just did basically what would have been 3 different packs, but we didn't have the cooldowns really going into that. So looking at the timer, we're actually just hitting 2 minutes right now, so whatever 2-minute cooldowns we did have just came back in the last 25% of this pull, which is probably a good, because this is right about the same time where bolstering mobs are happening, and we are needing these 2-minute cooldowns. And then moving on from here, we're basically just kind of doing a chill pack after this. It's only 3 mobs. Everybody gets to kind of relax a second, because that was really just 3 minutes of chaos there. Everyone trying to survive that and pump as much as they could there. So we're going to go on to this small little 3 mob pack here for percent, and then we're going to move on to the boss. But with the boss, this is a really simple boss even on Tyrannical, so we're going to decide here to pull a bit of trash onto the boss just for the percent. And it gives a little bit of funnel damage to both, really everybody. The Warlock, the Frost Mage, and the Rogue can all kind of get a little bit of funnel damage from the adds with the boss. So this is a no voice pug as well, so they don't really know exactly what I'm doing here. It's pretty common to pull an infiltrator pack onto the boss, but what I want is to kind of get some aggro on quite a few of these mobs. So I group up all 6 of them, beat them up just a small amount, get a fair amount of threat on these, and then I pull the boss into this. The reason I do that now on bolstering is because the change to bolstering no longer affects bosses. It also falls off after 20 seconds. That is the new form of bolstering, as of, I think it was season 3 or 4. But we're gonna pull the boss into this. Normally you wouldn't want to do that, because bolstering would affect that, and it would normally have lasted through the entire boss fight. Due to that change, we now can add all of these all of these adds onto the boss, get a little bit of single target priority damage out of it, and help us kill this boss a little faster. We also are able to lust right on the pull here, to help us kill those mobs quicker as well. And then aside from that, this boss it's just a tyrannical boss. It takes forever to kill, so we don't really do anything else here. I see the percent is where I wanted it to be, but there is a small mistake that we run into with the cannons coming up, where I feel like we had enough percent, but at the end of the dungeon you'll see that we were short by a 0.5%, which was probably one of one or two of the mobs that were running around that didn't get picked up with the iron stars. But we'll be coming up to that here in a couple of seconds. We're just going to finish off the wolf in this, and then it's just pure single target till the end of this fight here. The only real mechanic we need to do is kind of dodge the fire on the ground and not hit him when he puts his little bubble up until it is either removed from... I think the rogue might be able to remove it in this group. Lichborn as a Death Knight also allows you to not get feared, so you can use your own personals or just wait the 4 seconds until it goes away and you won't get feared. And this is the bubble right here. It doesn't really do anything, so we just blast this guy down, we move on to the stars, and we'll pick back up over there.
Stop. Stop.
So, as I'm grouping these guys up, I see that the third one is kind of already close here, this guy right here, and I really don't want him to run away. I preferred to get him with the first one, so I'm just going to tank him here and make sure that I'm in range of the other ones that are still coming in case I need to taunt one. Sometimes a healer will get aggro here just off of passive healing sometimes. So I just tank these guys in place. Looking at the count, everything looks good here. These stars are hitting everything they need to hit. The giants are dead. I think we ended up with like 51 or 52% here, I think, but I did leave a straggler behind over there that I just had highlighted. Actually, probably, I pulled this one in, but there is one guy over there out in the distance that we didn't kill with these iron stars, and I think he ends up being that last 0.5%. It was that one, and I think there's two here in this pack at the end to the left there that didn't die. But I see we're at 55-25, and I'm like, yeah, that should be enough, but apparently we ended up about a 0.5% short at the end of this dungeon, where I ended up pulling a pack I didn't really intend to pull, but wasn't really the end of the world here. This is just a common double. Nothing really crazy goes on here. You can invest some DPS cooldowns for it just because the boss is probably 3 or 4 minutes away at this point anyways. So we just blow this pack up. This thing melts. This rogue's pumping 75k. Well, we blast through here. We gotta remember to dodge the cannons from the ships and move on toward the rest of this trash here. This pack here is a pack where normally we would probably pull the Goliath into this, or the Giant, whatever you want to call him. We would normally pull him into this pack, just so that we wouldn't have to do like a pure single target, you know, fight over there, because single target just sucks in a Mythic Plus. It's not very time efficient whatsoever. But due to the bolstering and his massive health pool, these things would die and he would get bolstered. So we chose to just do him single. And even then, normally what I would do is when the Giant's health gets down to like whatever the health of the mobs is, which in this dungeon seems, I think it's right around 800k to 1 million maybe. Normally I would pull the Giant over to them and just finish them all off together. It's a little bit more efficient that way, but we don't end up doing it in this run, mostly because of the timing on the bombs just really didn't work well for us, and it just wasn't worth risking someone's death trying to get over there impatiently, and it just wasn't worth it. So we just kill him single target, and we're kind of saving some cooldowns of this. But actually, I think I use my cooldowns just because I know the boss is not really quite ready yet, so I should be using my cooldowns here.
4, 3.
Yeah, it looks like I just did there. So I get my stuff on cooldown here, knowing that I have one simple pack after this, and then it's going to be the boss. And if the timing is right, what I like to do is pull the patrol onto the boss and make it 5 targets instead of 3 targets.
3.
This particular pack is really more annoying than it is anything else. It's not very difficult. There's just a lot of stuff to stand in that doesn't really hurt that bad. It just makes a lot of noises.
4.
So my goal here, what I'm thinking about is whether or not that patrol is going to be close enough to the boss in order for me to pull it and get it all at once. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a sketchy move where I'll be in the middle of the boss fight when the patrol gets close enough, and that'll force me to kind of run up the steps and try to pull it without resetting the boss in accident. So I see that they are coming down. They're going exactly where we want to be, so I'm going to sneak by the boss here, kind of body pull it, but also pull the pat down into us here. So I hit the pat with a ranged ability. And there is a caster in that pack, so I'm just waiting for this right here. I just grip him in, and now we're all stacked up. Now we get 5 mobs instead of 3 mobs on this boss, just like the first time. Gives everybody more damage, a little bit more priority damage, and you know, the ability to AoE and generate, you know, resources better and faster.
2. 1.
This boss is pretty straightforward. Basically, just don't stand in the traps. Avoid the frontals. There is a shield on one of the bosses right now that you can see. I'm waiting to switch back to it right here. When that shield is up, if you break that shield, it heals all the other bosses. So when that shield goes up, you basically want to switch targets, kind of limit your AoE a little bit if it's, you know, if it's that heavy. But you really would have to pump single target to break that shield. So the goal there is to just put out as much damage on that skull target as you can until the shield goes up. As it goes up here, you switch off of it, and you end up you can still kick it. You just really don't want to break that shield because it just prolongs the fight, especially on Tyrannical.
Four. 3. 2. 1. 3. Run. 2. 1. 3.
Well, moving on here, the next few packs are really not that bad. This first pack, if you have cooldowns, you might as well use them here because the next pack is only a 2 mob pack. You could make it bigger, it's not always worth it. People end up dying from the dots or in the fire, so being this far ahead right now, there's no need for me to double up the next pack and put 2 of those little fiery dragons together in one pack. Mostly because the party damage at that point is kind of uncontrolled, and there's nothing I can really do about it. I can't tank the dots and the bleeds, so putting that much, you know, stress on the healer for really no real reason at that point is just not really worth it. And they move around a lot too, so it's really not efficient to, like, it would just be a mess. They're hard to group up even as a Death Knight. I can't grip the birds, so once everybody gets separated, it becomes pretty difficult if you double the next pack. So we're just gonna go slow through here, and I'm looking at the percent already, thinking, did we actually pull enough, or am I short? And I do end up being a bit short in the end. We end up pulling a 3 mob pack that I wanted to just walk by and skip, but we end up pulling it only because of 0.5% short. So this pack is basically used as get your cooldowns back for the next one. Basically, this is we should have used our 2 minutes most likely in the last pack. Whoever had them, I'm already banking my cooldowns right now. I have basically all of my offensive and defensive cooldowns available for this next pack, which I should probably be using at least my offensives. I don't think that I'll have the need really for any major defensives in the next pack here. The shields are just so big, and it's not fortified, so the trash really isn't too bad. So going into this poll, we were at 91%. And it's saying that we get 7.5 out of this, which I think is actually accurate. And we end up at 98.5. What we really needed was 99, and we could have pulled the one infiltrator at the end of the dungeon, and we could have avoided the next pack that I end up having to pull. Just because it's kind of easy, and I was already kind of frustrated that I somehow missed it by a 0.5%. I was like, what the hell did I miss? I have no idea. But looking back on it now, it was definitely the guys with the Iron Star. Those needed to die as part of my route. So we finish up this pack. I confirm, yes, we are 98.5, and I'm like, damn it. So I just go in here and I'm like, screw it, we'll just pull this 3-pack. Is what it is. Got plenty of time, we'll just move on. So I check with the mage to make sure that he does have sheep still, because who knows? With these new talents, so many classes lost their their CCs. You have to spec into Hex and things like that, so I don't know if the rogue gets blind. I don't know if the mage can even be a mage. Can he sheep? I don't know. So I find out from him he can sheep, so that's our plan here going into this boss is just when the second ad comes out, we sheep the ad and just continue to blow up the boss. We do have the lust available for this, so it'll help on Tyrannical. You really don't want to get 2 of those ads, so lusting here is pretty important. It's definitely better than the last boss that we just did. Is lusting here with decent damage, you should be able to do this with opening only 3 cages, hopefully.
4, 3,
So this boss, aside from CC and that one ad, he's also pretty straightforward. He jumps to a cage, you just gotta AoE all the mobs down, do what you can to keep them off of the rest of your group. So I'll be using, I'll be using my flappy hands to try to grip them back. Anything I need to solo grip, really, I will do just to kind of keep other people alive. These things do hit pretty hard, so you'll see me just gripping these things off of the rest of the party here, just to try to keep everybody alive through this. The next cage, the second cage, will always be the single ad, which needs to be CC'd. If it doesn't get CC'd, he spits poison all over the whole room and gets out of control almost instantly. It's usually pretty bad, so this fight goes well. Just gonna break this. Time to feed. Some classes can get out of this, but if not, you're just gonna break it. But this boss is pretty straightforward. We get through this with really no issues at all, and we move on to the last boss shortly after this here. It's going to be no other trash, it's just boss then boss. And both of these bosses are actually relatively easy. As long as this goes good with this particular ad right here, we do get a sheep off on this, and we just continue to kill this guy with no real issues. And the next boss, same thing, it's kind of long, he knocks you back a few times, but as far as, mechanically, it's really not that hard at all, so... At this point, we're thinking, alright, we got this key in the bag, and everything has gone well. It sucks when you get to this part of the dungeon, you're in here, 19 minutes in, and then you miss a CC on this boss and the whole group falls apart. It's, you're 100% trash. It's happened several times, to be honest, where you get this far on a decent key, and even when you're ahead, you miss one CC, and then the whole group's morale falls apart. Everybody starts pointing fingers, and, the pug life. The pug life begins, and it's everyone's fault but your own, usually. But fortunately for us, we make it through. No major issues. A couple of wolves get loose here, but don't really kill anybody, so... This boss dies here. Get a little sigh of relief, because we finally made it through the pug killer. And we're on to the next one, where this next boss really just takes time. It doesn't really kill anybody, there's nothing major that happens. It's... The beginning of the fight is by far the hardest because there's multiple mechanics happening. But as each one of the little mini ads dies, the fight gets easier and easier as you go on instead of harder. So kind of blow all your cooldowns here at the start to live through all this extra damage.
How dare you march into my docks and so brazenly set foot on my...
Once this first ad dies, this fight gets substantially easier, so... Like I said, you just blow all your cooldowns here, you kind of unload on this guy, try to get him... Sometimes you can one-phase it, and you can kill him before we get knocked away, but I don't think we end up doing that in this particular group, just because he's just got too much health. But once he dies, party damage gets significantly less, the fight becomes pretty easy and honestly quite boring, because you get left with trying to kill this giant boss with no cooldowns left because you've blown all your cooldowns on the little ads. So just a matter of going through this, basically this knockback mechanic 3 or 4 times sometimes, until you can finally get him dead. So this ad finally dies here. Second ad comes down. He usually dies significantly quicker, even without cooldowns. He's just got less health. He dies pretty quick. A lot less dangerous as well. Well, the rest of this is relatively easy. We just kind of kill this ad, and then it's just a DPS game to kill the last boss. So I will leave it at that. You guys can finish watching the rest of this video. I appreciate you coming by to check it out. I will be streaming more frequently, especially once Dragonflight comes out. I do plan on playing a Blood Death Knight. Maybe another tank as well if I can get an alt up early enough in the expansion. But I will be definitely doing some streaming, probably quite a few nights a week, especially early on. So feel free to come by, hang out, ask questions, give me pointers, you know, just hang out, chill. That being said, thanks again for watching the video, and I hope to see you over on the stream. So twitch.tv/DonkleTV. I'll see you there.